As you lie back, just notice if there's anything you'd like to make yourself a little bit more comfortable. And I'm going to invite you to have the knees bent to begin with. And if you take your feet just a little bit wider than your hips, and you can feel the knees fall in together, so you kind of create a little teepee, and they hold each other up. And then noticing if you'd like anything underneath your head, just a little bit of a support. When we choose to support our heads, we want to have something that's not going to lift the head way up and bring the neck out of alignment. So like a block would probably be too much, but just a thin pillow or just a little bit of a blanket, if that extra cushion would feel nice, then you can place that there. And then let's go ahead and begin with our palms on our lower belly. And for just a moment here, bring your awareness into the breath and simply follow it without shaping it. Just observe your body breathing. Today's practice, my intention is for it to be around the idea of nourishment. So how we nourish ourselves. And we nourish ourselves in a lot of ways. When we think of nourishment, we go to food, right? The food that we eat. And we also want to notice, how are we nourishing ourselves in the kind of conversations we have with others, or even ourselves for that matter. What material we might be reading, is it nourishing? Or the music we listen to, the news we watch, and really making choices that bring in nourishment rather than deplete us. And when we're bringing more of our awareness or attention to things that we fear, or we're in doubt, or relationships that exhaust us, right, then we're becoming depleted. And because this practice is in the midst of this pandemic and we're starting to emerge slowly, we're still in a lot of unknown. We don't really know one day to the next or next week what's going to be. And that can be very depleting. We're almost in a low grade fight or flight kind of a situation where our adrenals can become depleted. So this practice is going to be more slow, just some gentle holds, connect with our breath, and to really have the intention of nourishing ourselves. As we move along in the practice, as always, make sure that your choices align with what you need today. So, what provides nourishment for you? Invite your next breath, your next inhale into the belly, allowing it to expand. And then gently contract the belly back towards the spine on the exhale. So gentle belly breathing. We're not doing anything too forceful, but we are allowing the belly to rise and fall. In this belly breathing, let's check in with the layers of our being. We'll start with our physical body, the outermost layer. And just a little scan from head to toe. And notice, are there some areas that feel tight or some tension there? And maybe those are the areas that you're holding your stress. And if you do notice any areas that feel tight or tense, use the breath to invite them to relax. Notice the energy body and your quality of your breath. And so as you're breathing, do you notice any restrictions in the breath? Is there a nostril that's congested? Springtime allergies? The subtle energies of the body just beneath the skin. Are there any sensations there? And we're just noticing these layers without a need to fix or to get into the story why. Just notice them from a place of being neutral or non-judgmental. Notice the mental and emotional body. If there are thoughts that are taking you away from this moment, you can use your breath as your anchor. And noticing the emotions that are there at the surface for you today. Notice your wisdom body, the seat of intuition or inner knowing, and whether or not you feel very connected to that right now. To trust that voice within us, guiding us towards what's for our highest good. And then our deepest layer within is the bliss body. And that place within us is never disturbed by what's going on externally. So it's there waiting for us to remember that our true nature is peace and bliss. And so may this practice guide you into that place, even if it's just little snippets, just remembering that that is your essence. So coming back into the breath. And we're going to do an interrupted inhale here for a few minutes. And you're going to take the breath in 3 parts. And so you're going to inhale about a third of the way, hold for 2 to 3 seconds. Inhale another third of the way, hold. And then complete the inhale and hold at the top of the breath 2 to 3 seconds. And then a nice, smooth, slow breath out. If it's comfortable, pause at the end of the exhale again for 2 to 3 seconds before you move back into that 3-part breath. So inhale in thirds, pausing after each breath in for 2 to 3 seconds, and then a slow, long, easy breath out. So this brings energy into the body. And you can also begin to tap into what your intention for practice is and bring that in through your heart. breath out is about dropping you deeper and deeper into this moment, right here, right now. At the completion of the next exhale, come back into just mindful breathing. Observe the body breathe. And notice if there's been any shift or effects from just taking a few minutes to center, to arrive on our mats together. To begin the practice, we're going to go ahead and bring our feet and our knees all the way together now. So the inner edges of your feet are touching and the knees are connecting. They're touching too. So we're just gently squeezing the legs together. And then move very small movements side to side right across the tailbone and your sacrum. We're keeping the feet firmly planted in the mat. So notice if the mounds of your big toes are coming off the floor or the outer edge of your foot as you twist to one side, and try to keep those planted down. Make the movement a little smaller. So beginning with the care of our low backs. And then you can start to let the edges of the feet roll off the floor. But I'm going to encourage you to not necessarily drop into a full twist yet, but maybe about halfway. As we began these really small movements, notice the breath, and that may have dropped off. So come back into that nice, full, even flow of breath. And we want to really maintain that. Taking that breath in and deliberately or mindfully breathing is incredibly nourishing, both for our immune systems, for reducing the stress response, and to keep us in the present moment. We have to think about breathing fully and evenly, deeply. When you've gone equally side to side, bring the knees back to center. Feet hip-width apart, parallel. And let's find our way into our hip hikers. So just hiking the hips up towards the shoulders, or slide, just sliding them up the mat. Keeping the buttocks on the floor. Movements are meant to be rather subtle or small. And keep breathing. And then bring that to center and come into our hip pointers. So pressing the right foot into the floor, we point the right hip up to the ceiling, the buttocks comes off the floor, and bring it back down, and then the opposite side. So there's no swinging or picking the buttocks up and swinging. The opposite cheek stays on the floor. Again, movements are meant to be rather small. And then we can alternate between those two. So doing a few hip hikers. And then a few hip pointers. And just go back and forth between the two a few times on your own. Keep bringing your awareness into the anchor of the breath, moment to moment. Bring that to center, and then we'll come into our pelvic tilt. So we're going to tuck the tailbone under. We flatten the low back into the floor, posterior tilt. Reverse that and move into a little bit of a back bend, anterior tilt. Tuck under and then reverse. Coordinate this with your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And then from here, let's draw the knees into the chest. Just feeling a little stretch in that low back. We'll find our way into our Apanasana, so let the breath out as you hug the knees in. Take the breath in as you move the knees away from you. Exhale, hug in. Inhale, arm lengths away. Let the arms do much of the work here. The legs are fairly relaxed. So we relax the hip flexors in particular. Continuing throughout the practice with the intention of nourishment. And if your intention is different, definitely honor that. Let's take this into knee circles. One direction, large or small. But I'm going to encourage you to keep it slow, mindful. Breath steady. And then eventually switch and circle the other way. And then maybe take the knees and circle them wide and around. Place the feet back into your mat, hip width apart, and we want to place the heels about 4 inches from the buttocks. Arms by your side, palms down, and roll the shoulders under you. So the heart opens a bit. And then from here, we're going to come into our pelvic tilt. So you're going to tuck under and then come back into that anterior tilt with a little bit of a back bend. Tuck under, flatten the low back. And we're going to gradually move up the spine. So the next time you start to tuck under, press into the feet a little bit and maybe move just above the waist. And then roll back down and through that anterior tilt. And then the next time, tuck under and roll maybe up to the mid-back. And then roll back down through an anterior tip of the pelvis, posterior tip of the pelvis, and roll up a little bit higher into the spine. And back down. So just continue to work your way up a moving bridge, piece by piece, until you find your edge, where that is for you today, and how high you want to lift the hips up off the floor. So you can keep them keep this movement rather small, or you can begin to lift the hips up as high as you'd like to. The neck should be neutral, So I apologize, but if you have a blanket under your head, I prefer you move that out of the way during bridge pose, this moving bridge. Go ahead and find neutral. So on the next exhale, just come roll back down. Take a few breaths here. Just feel the spine. Kind of did a little massage along the spine. And then we're going to start to coordinate the arms with this. So the inhale will bring the hips up off the floor and just the right arm reaches all the way overhead. Hips up, right arm overhead. Exhale everything down together and see if you can coordinate that the arm and the buttocks come into the floor on the same time. And then the left side, inhale, roll the spine up, left arm overhead. And exhale, bring it all back down. And just continue to alternate sides. Inhaling, lift. And exhale, release. I'm just going to invite you to really take your time here. Slowing everything down, being very mindful. Sometimes it's very helpful to come into a beginner's mind. What would it feel like if you were exploring this practice for the first time? And in some ways we are. Our minds may be familiar with these movements, but the cells in our bodies are constantly regenerating. And so really we're almost a whole different person each time we come onto our mats. When you've gone equally to each side, pause once again in our starting position, just in a neutral position. Take a couple of breaths. Feel the practice so far. And then we'll go ahead now, come into our three-part moving bridge. Inhale the hips up, both arms reach overhead. Leave the arms there this time as you exhale and roll the spine back down. And then inhale back up, the hips. And then exhale everything down together. Taking our time, connecting movement and breath. Providing the nourishment our body needs today. The next time the arms and hips are down on the floor, we're back at our starting point. Pause once again. Just feel the energy body. Stay with your breath. And we'll do one more series here in this bridge pose. So it's going to start the same way. We're going to inhale, hips up, both arms overhead. Exhale, lower the hips and bring your hands to your knees as you draw them into the chest. That's an exhale. Inhale, extend the legs, bring the feet to the ceiling and the arms back overhead. And then exhale, bend the knees, feet in the floor, arms by your side to our starting point. Inhale, hips up, both arms overhead. Exhale, lower the hips and draw the knees into the chest with your hands. Inhale, extend the legs, arms overhead. Exhale, back down to neutral, feet in the floor, arms by your side. And again, inhale, hips up, arms overhead. Exhale, lower the hips and draw the knees into the chest. Inhale, extend the legs, arms overhead. Exhale, bend the knees, arms in the floor, feet in the floor. Take a couple of breaths here. Just feel the practice so far. Keep the left foot in the floor, but we'll interlace the hands behind the right thigh and go ahead and extend and bend. So as we extend the leg, we take the breath in. As we bend, we're just drawing the heel towards our buttocks. So the thigh stays pretty still. We're just taking the foot, extending it up to the ceiling and back down to the buttocks. We're checking out the hamstring, the calf, just kind of what's going on in the back of the leg there. We'll go ahead and extend, and this time point and flex the foot. Just feel that in the lower half of the leg, what's going on there from the shin to the calf to the Achilles. And then we can take the foot into circles. And then switch directions, circle the other way. So working the ankles here a little bit there. And then flex the foot, so press the heel to the ceiling. Try to relax through the shoulders and the facial muscles, the neck. Just finding a stretch through the back of that leg. You can keep the left knee bent, or you can extend that leg out along the floor. And if you do extend the left leg, see if you can try to anchor the back of that left thigh into your mat. And what will help is that anterior tip of the pelvis. So we're creating some space, right? That in between the lumbar spine and the floor, and the right leg might have to move a little farther away from you. You just really lengthened that hamstring attachment into the glute. We want that so that we don't make this pose about how close the knee can get to the nose. We really want to properly stretch the hamstring for a more lasting effect. Then we want to do it this way. Just find 3 long, slow, deep breaths here. And at the completion of those 3 breaths, if you straighten the left leg, bend it again, place the foot on the floor, and place the right foot next to it. Just shake that out a little bit. Keep the right knee bent. We'll do this on the other side now. Interlace the hands behind your left thigh, and let's take 4 to 5 rounds. Inhale, extend, and exhale, bend. And the next time you extend, pause there, point and flex. And circle the foot around in one direction now, just working with the ankle joint. And then circle the other way. then come in and hold. So press the heel to the ceiling. We're going to keep the foot flexed. And right here, you can already begin to find that anterior tip of the pelvis. Just notice with the stretch in the back of that left leg, it might feel quite different than the right, depending on what's going on in your body. Keep breathing, and then if you choose, you can extend that right leg out along the floor. See how close you can get to anchoring the back of that right thigh into the floor, your hamstring. And we'll take 3 more deep breaths here. At the completion of those 3 breaths, bend the right knee, placing the right foot on the floor, left foot on the floor. Shake that out a little bit. Once again, draw the knees into the chest. Just give yourself a little hug. You can roll side to side if you want to. Let's do one more exercise here on our back and come into our hips. So right ankle to the left knee. You can push that knee away from you with your right hand if you want. Or you can move through the hole, interlace the hands behind the left thigh and pick that figure 4 up off the floor. Whatever stretch you prefer. You can rock side to side here if you want to, or just hold in the stretch. So whatever you're choosing, take about 4 to 5 nice long breaths here, just holding in our stretch. It should be mild to moderate, not intense. And just breathing into the intention of nourishment. And at the completion of those breaths, release this side. You might want to extend that right leg out on the floor if that would feel good. And then we'll switch sides, left ankle on the right knee. Decide to simply push that knee away from you or interlace behind the right thigh through the hole. You can move side to side if you want, see how that feels, or pause, be still, just hold in the stretch, mild to moderate. Slow, steady breaths. Let's take about 4 to 5 breaths here. Continue to work with your intention if it's different than mine. And at the completion of those breaths, release out of that pose. Maybe extend that left leg out a little bit, shake it out. And one more time, knees to chest. A little rolling side to side. And then we're going to find our way to hands and knees, so just rolling one side. Notice if you'd like, we're going to play here, just warming up in our mini flow, but we will move into low lunge. So if you like blocks for that, you can put those in place just to either side of the front of your mat. To begin with, we'll go ahead, knees hip width apart and directly underneath your hips. Draw navel to spine, keep that engagement, exhaling round the spine. Inhaling open, so just our cat-cow. We exhale, rounding the spine, tuck the tail, release the head. And as you move through neutral into a back bend, we soften the heart towards the earth. And then exhaling and round. And from here, it might feel nice to move side to side, just get into the side body a little bit. You can incorporate the cat-cow into that. Keep flowing with the breath. Keep the core strong. Really supports our back. And then we can take the hips and circle them back and around one direction, big or small. And then eventually switch, circling the other way. And then we'll find our way into child's pose, so exhaling back into balasana, child's pose. And inhaling back up. Exhaling back. And inhaling up. As you move back and forth, I invite you to do so as if the heart is leading the way. Your energetic heart, Anahata chakra, drawing you back, going inward. As we come up, we move outward. Right? So it's kind of an energetic, something to notice energetically. Let's give our feet a little attention this morning. So you're going to curl the toes under. Okay, so normally we're on the top of our feet, but let's curl them under, and then we're going to go ahead now and sit back on the heels and just stretch to the arch of the foot. You can rest your head on your hands, or you can use a block and rest your head on a block if you want to, right? If it makes it to the floor and that's comfortable, that's fine. And just breathe, just really stretching through the toes and the arch of the foot. If you have a lot of mobility in your foot and this isn't enough, you can come up and sit on the heels if you choose. So I'll leave that up to you. That gets pretty intense, but you can start there. And then come on up. Flip over to the toenails. And exhale back into child's pose again, just kind of reversing that. Take 2 or 3 breaths here. And then we'll go ahead and find our way into down dog. So curl the toes under once again and take the tailbone high into the sky. And let's take this first dog for a walk. So bending the knees, pedal the heels in and out of the floor. You You can move through the spine and the shoulders. If you want, you can pull forward into plank pose and draw back again. Totally up to you. Just kind of moving around in your pose. And then eventually coming back down to the knees. Exhaling into child's pose. And let's just go 3 really slow rounds of our mini flow. Just very mindful. Inhaling to hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Just take your time. Really extend the breath. Inhaling hands and knees. And exhaling back into child. So 2 more rounds just like that. Take your time. If you feel comfortable doing so, close the eyes. It becomes a bit of a moving meditation. When you finish that 3rd round, just pause in child's pose for a moment. Breathing there, breathe into the back body. Just feel the pose. And that idea of drawing inward for a moment. All right, so let's find our way back to hands and knees, and then bring the right foot forward. So we'll come into our low lunge here. If you're using blocks, feel free to keep your hands on your blocks, that's fine. Or use them, and remember you have 3 different heights with the blocks. I think most of us tend to come onto level 2 on the side, but sometimes it can be really nice to bring the blocks a little higher. I was doing that in my own practice this morning just to kind of feel that and just experience that extra lift and spaciousness that it provides. And then from here, we exhale forward into that left hip flexor. Just a mild stretch here. We're not trying to find our maximum edge. And then draw back, straightening that leg, bringing the toes up off the floor if you want to, and you start to feel the stretch in the calf. So we're going to coordinate this with our breath, inhaling forward, heart lifts, and then exhale, draw back. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. And again, just slow, mindful movements. And if you want, close the eyes. The next time you come forward into the lunge and into that left hip flexor, we're going to pause here for a stretch. Again, mild to moderate. Isometrically press the right heel and the left knee down into the floor and then try to pull them together, like they're going to try to move towards one another. It's just an isometric movement there. You're going to feel that hip flexor engage when you do that. The core stays engaged, and just breathe here. So it's a very active stretch. We're protecting the hip flexor by not just dropping right into it. It's a common area that can get injured if we overdo it, so I'm going to caution you to really be minimal with this. And just breathe. Hold here for another 3 breaths. And then slowly release out of that stretch. Bring the blocks with you. Start to walk the blocks back with you. And again, you can use the whatever level you wish. And then I'm going to come up onto the right heel. I'm bringing the right toes off the floor and I'm extending this left leg. I'm actually going to extend my foot forward a little bit more. And then from here, find that anterior tip of the pelvis, right? So we don't want to tuck under and round the low back. We want to try to create an opposite movement so that that low back is staying extended. The core is engaged, and when you get that, when you have anteriorly tipped the pelvis, you should have felt that hamstring kick in even more. And so it's not necessary to always fold deeply or come forward any farther. You can just stay here and get enough of a stretch. Now, if you have really mobile hamstrings, then you might want to remove the block altogether and come forward. That's fine. That's an option. But continue to really pay attention if you're starting to sacrifice the low back and tuck under. So I have pretty good mobility in my hamstrings, and I still like to use the blocks. I love the assist and the ease that they create and to find this stretch. So take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll slowly release. Go ahead and move the blocks off to the side, off your mat or out in front. And we're going to press back into down dog. Just walk that out a little bit. And inhale to hands and knees. Exhale into child. And pause there for a few breaths. So just notice if there's any difference in the sensations between the right and left sides of the body. Breathe into the back body. Let's go through that on the other side. So coming up to hands and knees, bring your left foot to the front of your mat. Use your blocks if you'd like. And to begin, we'll find our lunge rock. So already notice your foundation so that as you come forward, and I apologize we didn't cover this on the other side, but as you come forward, as you release into that right hip flexor, we want to make sure the knee stays behind the toes. Okay, just to protect the knee. And then we'll rock back and forth. So you exhale back, maybe roll the toes up off the floor if you want. Inhale forward, heart lifts, spine lengthens. And exhaling back. And the next time you come forward, let's find our stretch in the hip flexor there. Press the left heel and the right knee down and then try to pull them together. Try to bring them together so you feel that hip flexor activate. And then breathe here. Keep the core engaged. Continue with that long, deep, smooth breath. And just hold in the stretch. And slowly come out of that side. Walk the blocks back a bit. And we're going to go ahead now and find our hamstring stretch. So you can bring the toes up off the floor and feel it all the way behind the knee and the calf as well. The first thing we do before we find our edge is to find that tipping of the pelvis. So we tip the pelvis forward. That anterior tilt is going to create a lengthening in the low back as opposed to tucking under and compressing. Okay, so find that length, then find your stretch. And you may not need to go quite as far. Keep the breath flowing. And slowly come out of that side, blocks out of the way. Press back into down dog once again. Walk that out a bit. And then releasing to the knees and taking child's pose once again. Just drop back. Maybe this time rest the head on the hands if you want. Lifting the head slightly might feel really nice on the neck. And breathe into the back body. Really drawing in that nourishment, accepting the gifts this practice has for you this morning. Honoring the choice you made to be here today for you. And then come back up to hands and knees. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm just turning sideways. You might want to turn sideways on your mat too. We're going to come into gate pose. I'd like to open up the side body a bit. So I'm going to start with my right leg and I'm going to extend it off to the side. So we're going to feel a little bit, I'm going to move this knee that way a little bit. So I'm going to try to keep my left thigh in alignment with my hip, and I can feel a stretch to the inner thigh. Right? I'm going to rest my right hand just somewhere along my leg, my right leg. I have my foot planted in my mat, so it's not this way. We would come into the hamstring again. If I keep the inner edge of my, or keep my foot planted, so the outer edge of my foot is parallel with the edge of my mat. Okay? And then I can feel that more into the inner thigh. Left arm reaches up, and then we exhale and fold to that right side. So I'm deepening that inner thigh stretch, the adductor, and now I'm also stretching through that left side body. Just pause and breathe here. Keep reaching, keep stretching, keep breathing. Let's take 2 more breaths here. The inhale will bring you up out of the pose. Bring the right knee underneath you. And then we'll switch sides. Extend the left leg. So now the outer edge of the left foot parallel with the left edge of your mat, or with the edge of your mat. The right thigh directly underneath the hip here. Okay, so we already feel, maybe, I don't know, I already do feel a little stretch in that hip, inner thigh, the adductor. Right arm reaches up. And then just rest the left hand somewhere along the left thigh here. I'm going to reach up, my core is engaged, and then I'm going to reach over to the left. So now we're going to wake up that right side body. And breathe here. Let's take 2 more breaths here. The next inhale brings you back up. Release out of the pose. Just woke up that side body. And then we'll find our way to hands and knees again. And really take a breath or two right here, listening to what's nourishing, what would feel nourishing to you right now. Would it be to drop back into child's pose and stay for a few breaths? Or would it feel really nice to just kind of move and flow a little bit? So if you want to flow, exhale, down dog. Inhale, hands and knees. And exhale, child's. And just one more round there if you're flowing. If you're in child's pose, just stay there and rest and breathe. Those of us in a flow, release back and pause. Finding a child's pose and take a couple of deep breaths into the back body. And then we're going to come on up and we're going to find a seated position. And we're going to spend a few moments here in a couple different seated poses. You don't have to use any props, but if you want to, we will have the option to use block, strap, a blanket, and possibly your fascia balls if you have really tight hamstrings, if you have those, or something rolled underneath your knees works too. And we're going to also the possibility of using a blanket to sit right off the edge of the blanket for support in the low back. Okay, so just have the props nearby if you have them. So we're going to begin in Paschimottanasana, a forward fold, seated forward fold. But we're going to go ahead and first situate ourselves off the edge of the blanket. So I'm sitting right on the edge. I want a little bit more lift here. So your pelvis tips forward. So we find that anterior tip of the pelvis with the assist of the blanket. And it's only my sits bones on the edge of the blanket. My pubic bone's on the floor, my thighs are on the floor, okay? So if your hamstrings are really tight, you might want to place fascia balls underneath the knees. That's a really nice release for that, or not. So that's one option. The next option, if you have a block, is to place the block, and if you're tight, you can place the block here first, and then we're going to use a strap, okay? So again, we're simply coming into a forward fold. You don't need any props at all. You can do this without any props if you want to, but just pay attention to your low back. Make sure you keep it lifted and the spine long, okay? But if a nice or a fun way it's kind of grounding is you place the block at its tallest level at the bottom of your feet, and then you take a strap around the block, okay? Now I'm just going to push it away from me and straighten my legs from here. Okay, again, you could use the balls here too. I'm pulling on the straps, on either end of the strap, to lengthen my spine, to lift my heart. It's a really nice assist. So I'm letting my upper body do some of the work here, and it's less demanding on my low back. Okay? So we want to keep extended, nice and seated, nice and tall. the core engaged, and then from here I'm pulling on the straps to pull my heart forward and to find just that first point of a stretch, and pause there and breathe. We're not in a hurry. We don't have to find our maximum edge right away. Just really taking our time, seeing how this feels. Maybe today staying at a minimal edge would feel better, right? And we don't know if we're automatically going to where we've always gone. Wherever you're choosing to hold, find your breath. Notice if the spine starts to give way a little bit. Continue to focus on keeping it long or extended, and the breath as well. Take about 3 to 4 more nice long breaths here. And then slowly find your way up out of the pose. We're going to remove the strap. Actually, all props are going to be off to the side. And we won't even use a blanket here either. So we're going to come into a seated twist. So bending the right leg or right knee. Now you can keep your foot to the inner thigh. That left leg that's extended, the foot is flexed. So this leg's active. It's not just kind of hanging out here. We want it really active. And if you don't want the foot there, the next option is up and over. Okay. The left elbow wraps around the right knee and the right hand behind you. Now this is really nice because you can kind of create some assist in keeping the spine tall. And we're going to allow our right hip to move with us here for a moment. We're going to move in and out of the twist. So the exhale is going to draw the heart around, and we're going to bring that hip with us. And if you get this, you're going to feel the left foot kind of jut forward. As my right hip moves back, this left hip's moving forward, and it's bringing that heel down the mat, right? So we want to feel that movement in the hips, and then we inhale, unwind. We exhale back into the twist, and then inhale, unwind. And then on this next round, let's go ahead and come in and hold in this twist. Now the gaze is the last thing. We bring that over the shoulder if that feels safe on your neck. Keep the heart open and the shoulders away from the ears. And let's take 3 to 4 nice deep breaths here. And at the completion of those breaths, slowly unwind. Shake that out. And let's move to the other side. So bend the left knee, decide whether you want the foot to the inner thigh or outer. That right leg is extended and active. So flex the right foot and keep that right kneecap up to the ceiling. The right elbow around the left knee, left hand behind you. Now we went 3 to 4 rounds, just moving in and out of the twist. As you shift the left hip back, as you twist to the left, bring that hip with you and feel that right heel jet forward and then come back to center. Exhale into the twist. And inhale back to center one more time. This time we'll pause in the twist. Spine stays tall, shoulders down, heart open. And the gaze is the last thing to shift out that back shoulder if you choose. And breathe. The exhale, unwind. Shake that up. And then we're going to go ahead and find our way onto our backs again. We're going to do just a little bit of releases here. So rolling back, knees bent. Bring your feet out as wide as your mat. Open the arms wide from your shoulders, palms up. And our double knee drop. Exhale the knees to one side. Inhale, open wide. And exhale, release them to the other side. Inhale, open wide. Exhale, release into a little bit of a twist. Very moderate twist. Just releasing some of the deeper stretching we did today. And then if you want to get your head involved, you can rotate the head the opposite direction the knees go. When you've gone equally side to side, just draw the knees into the chest, rounding the low back. Maybe a little Apanasana or knee circles. What would complete your practice before coming into Shavasana here? So just take a moment. Listen to that inner teacher. See what would feel nice for you. Feel complete with that, take a moment to find your way into your Shavasana this morning. I'm going to share with you a guided meditation. So notice what props you might use to be comfortable. If you want something underneath your head or rolled up underneath your knees. What would allow your body to drop into complete comfort without the distractions of anything that's uncomfortable or tense or tight. settle in, we're going to take just a couple of minutes of some breath work first. So we're going to reverse the breathing practice that we did at the very beginning. So you're going to take a long, smooth, deep inhale, hold at the top of the inhale, and then exhale in 3 parts. And you'll pause for 2 to 3 seconds after each release. Right? So you'll exhale a third of the way, hold there. Exhale another third of the way, hold. And then the rest of the way and hold for 2 to 3 seconds. And then take a long, smooth breath in. Hold at the top of that inhale and then exhale in 3 parts, holding after each for 2 to 3 seconds. Letting go, releasing and dropping in more deeply into Shavasana to receive the guided meditation and to be present with it. With the completion of the next exhale, find your way back into just mindful breathing, not shaping the breath, but it's simply observing the body breathe. And if there's any last minute or last little bit of adjustments you want to make to be comfortable, do so now. With a relaxed and open awareness, just begin a gradual and thorough scan of your entire body. Place your attention at the top of your head, and without looking for anything in particular, just feel any sensations there may be there. And allow your attention to move down and feel any sensations in the back of your head. On either side of your head, through your ears. Notice any sensations with your forehead, eyes, nose, cheeks, jaw, and mouth. Be as slow and thorough as you'd like. And as you continue the scan, be careful not to use your eyes to direct your attention. This will create tension. So rather connect directly with the sensations by feeling the body from within the body. In certain parts of the body, it's common to feel numbness or for there to be no noticeable sensations. Let your attention remain in those areas for a few moments in a relaxed and easeful way. You may find that as your attention deepens, when you revisit these places, you become increasingly aware of the sensations. Images or thoughts will naturally arise, and notice them passing through and gently return your attention to the sensations. Let your intention be to release all ideas and experience your physical aliveness exactly as it is. Place your attention on the area of your neck and throat, noticing without any judgment whatever sensations you feel. Be aware of each of your shoulders from the inside. And let your attention move slowly down your arms, feeling the sensations and aliveness there. Bring awareness to your hands, making sure they're resting in an easy and effortless way. Feel each finger from the inside, the palms, the backs of your hands. Noticing tingling, pulsing, pressure, warmth, or cold. Arrive in the life of your body. Now place your awareness on your chest, exploring the sensations in that whole area. Slowly allow your awareness to sink down into your stomach. With a soft, receptive awareness, take some moments to feel the sensations in your abdomen. Place your attention on your upper back, feeling the sensations in the area around your shoulder blades. Moving down, be aware of the mid and lower back. And then the entire spine. Awareness resting in the entire length of your spine. Continuing to let awareness sweep down the body, feel the sensations that arise through the hips, your buttocks, your genitals. What are the actual sensations that are arising? Move slowly down through the legs, feeling them from within. And explore the sensations in your feet and toes. Notice the places where your body touches the floor. Feel the sensations of contact, pressure, and temperature. Now open your attention to include your body in a comprehensive way. Be aware of the body as a field of changing sensations, your whole body. Can you sense the subtle energy field that vitalizes and gives life to every cell, every organ in your body? Is there anything in your experience that is solid or unmoving? Is there any center or boundary to the field of sensation? Is there any solid self you can locate that possesses these sensations? What or who is aware of this experience. As you rest in awareness of your whole body, if particular sensations call your attention, bring a soft and allowing attention to them. Try not to manage or manipulate your experience. Don't grasp or push anything away. Simply open to the changing dance of sensations, feeling your life from the inside out. If no particular sensations call your attention, remain open to feeling energy simultaneously in all parts of the body. If thoughts carry your attention away, gently note thinking, thinking, and then reconnect with the energetic field of aliveness. Rest in this awareness of your living being, letting life live through you. Take a few deep breaths, just flooding the body with oxygen. Begin to wiggle some fingers and toes. Slowly roll to one side. And pause there for a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, just come up to a seated position, bringing your palms together at your heart. Once you're here, take a moment to really honor yourself for showing up for you in this time of self-care. May you be at peace. May your hearts remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. And may you be a source of healing for all beings. Thank you for allowing me to take the seat of teacher. Namaste.